never talked to anyone more people. Like since I was in charm school when they made me a staff sergeant. So I'll do my best. Louder? Okay. I'm Greg's brother, younger brother. It's nice to keep this about baseball because a lot of you know Greg through baseball. It's a fine young man over here. I'm sure they played for him. Mark and I think who else is Scott here? What about Gary? Oh really? He owes me an enchilada. They don't make those anymore. When we were kids, we used to go to all the Angel games. My dad worked at Glendale Federal Savings, and they'd have a sign-up sheet in the break room. One for the Dodgers, one for the Angels. The Dodgers one was always full. The Angels one wasn't. So Dad would come home from Burbank, change his clothes, and we'd go down Artesia Boulevard to the Big A. And Jim Fergosi, Dave Kingman, Bobby Canop. This is before we moved down to Vista, right when the days of Tanana and Ryan and 2 Days of Crying started, and those were exciting times on KMPC Los Angeles, and we'd still listen to that. Going to a Dodger game was rare, only like if we were, in a group, like when we were in Indian Guides, or like with the church or something. Best part of a Dodger game though, is at the end of the game, you could rent a cushion to sit on the old wood chairs, and every kid in the place would throw them out on the field. That was the best part of the. I take it back. We would sit in the bleachers because they were cheap. And I remember once we saw Willie Davis's glove come up over the fence to catch a ball. I didn't know who the hell Willie Davis was, but he was my biggest Dodger star. So me and Greg both played Little League. My dad was wanted us to get out, leave Mom alone for a while, but he was always there with us. And like with Indian Guides. And one thing my mom told me in her final months, and Greg and I and Tom, where she was hospice, and so we'd sit and talk and have coffee. And she said something about my dad I've never heard before. My dad was an Eagle Scout, and in the whole Los Angeles area, they had an Eagle Scout Association, and he was a big mamma jamma in that, but he never wanted us to join Boy Scouts. And she said she wanted us to go with Indian Guides, which is a YMCA group. No merit badges, just beads and feathers and stuff like that, because he wanted to be close to us boys. And I learned this maybe weeks before my mom died, and I go, that's something else. That's the way my dad was. And well, of course, when I got my driver's license when I was a sophomore, and I was, 76 or 77? And then about 3 days later, I smashed the front fender of a Buick Skyhawk. And that's where Greg come in. Because he made Greg give me a job at the meat market in San Marcos. And when you think meat market, I know what you're thinking I was doing. But I was washing the guts out of bandsaws and scraping the floor. And Greg was such a hard ass to me. There were other kids in there that worked, and he put his arm around him. He talked stuff about him. He said, "Hey, those chickens are melting. Get your ass over there." And who was that guy? Tony Morocco. He was his buddy. No, this is at Sherman's Egg Ranch in San Marcos. And we went, oh, yeah, it was Ken Buchanan. But he was a hard ass to me. Oh, I wanted to pay off that fender. But then we went to Escondido, and we worked there. But I started realizing something, that what he told me do it right. Do it right. Get it done. Do something else. They go by faster. And he was right. I wouldn't admit it until, hang on, is that Augie? Let's see. He, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. We get a lot of that. But I'm sure some of you boys, if you played for him, you knew he wasn't a perfectionist. He just made sure to do it right. And after I graduated, I worked the meat market with him for maybe another 2 or 3 months, and I joined the service. And I found out in basic training that that's all basic training was. It was easy for me. Here, we're going to tell you how to do it. Do it right. Some guys just couldn't do that. I worked for Greg Cedarloff, you know that. So I'll wrap it up. I got most of you guys still here. When I think of my dad and how much he thought of us and wanted to be with us, look at these two fine young men over here, Mick and Eric. Just great guys. In some ways, like it or not, they're going to be just like his dad. You know, Greg was just like our dad. My dad was not a mechanic. My dad was not a baseball player. But he let us go. He supported us all the way. And that's the way I see Greg as. I'd see pictures Debbie would post from they go to spring training every year down in Arizona or like New Mexico or something like that. Yeah, I know. Let me keep this brief. These three turds right here, I'm sure they would go 3 or 4 games and they would just say, let's look in the stands and find some fat guy sweating, eating a yard-long churro, and we'll say, hey, there's your brother. Those three right there. So, I don't know, Greg was a great brother. We went our different ways, but I think about him almost every day. When my head hurts, I think of this. You know, and it makes me cry. This is before Greg died. So, I don't know, that's all I have to say. Greg was a great guy. Thank you.